Good afternoon, citizens of ancient Greece. I, the great goddess Athena, have come down to earth to visit you and to tell you what the next city-state challenge will be. But before we get to that, I would like to read from one of my favorite books, the Greek myths. I want to tell you a story about the Minotaur. Gotta find the page here. Don't know it by heart. And you're probably going to realize that your challenge has to do with the Minotaur. But we start with Theseus. The muse sang of Hercules and his labors, and they also sang of the island of Crete that was ruled by King Minotaur, the son of Zeus and Europa. His queen, a daughter of the sun god Helios, had a golden glimmer in her eyes like all the descendants of the sun, and was accustomed to the great magnificence. Well, King Midas wanted his queen to live in a palace as splendid as her father's, and he ordered an Athenian architect and inventor to build such a palace on Knossos. The palace rose up story upon story over the forest of columns, winding stairs, and intricate passageways that connected the many halls and the courtyards. Pictures were painted on the walls of the great halls, fountains splashed in the courtyards, and the bathrooms even had running water. Bull's horns of purest gold crowned the roofs, for the Cretans worshipped the bull, since Zeus, in the shape of a bull, had brought Europa to the island. Here the king and the queen and all their court lived in great splendor and happiness until one day Poseidon sent a snow-white bull from the sea. Since the island of Crete was completely surrounded by his dominion, the sea, he too wanted to be honored, and ordered King Minotaur to sacrifice the bull to him. But the queen was so taken by the beauty of the white bull that she persuaded the king to let it live. She admired the bull so much that she ordered the Athenian architect to construct a hollow wooden cow so that she could hide inside it and enjoy the beauty of the bull at close range. Poseidon grew very angry at this, and for his punishment, he made the bull mad. It ravaged the whole island, and though the Cretans were great bullfighters, no one could subdue the beast until Hercules had come to capture it for one of his labors. To punish the king and the queen, Poseidon caused the queen to give birth to a monster, the Minotaur. He was half bull, half man, and ate nothing but human flesh. Such a fearful monster could not go free, so the clever architect constructed for him a labyrinth underneath the palace. It was a maze of passageways with little rooms from which no one could ever hope to find his way out. There the Minotaur was shut in, and as long as he was provided with victims to devour, he kept quiet. But when he became hungry, he bellowed so loudly that the whole palace shook. King Minotaur had to wage war with the neighboring islands so that he could supply the Minotaur with the prisoners of war for his food. When the son of Minotaur visited Athens and was accidentally killed, King Minotaur used this as an excuse to threaten to sack the city unless 7 Athenian maidens and 7 Athenian youths were sent to Crete to be sacrificed to the Minotaur every 9 years. To save his city, Aegeus, the king of Athens, had to consent, for Minotaur was so much stronger than he was. The people of Athens grumbled, though, for while King Aegeus was childless, and had nothing to lose, they had to see their sons and their daughter sacrificed to the cruel Minotaur every 9 years. 2 times 9 years had passed, 18 years, and the king was growing old. For a 3rd time, a ship with black sails of mourning was due to depart, when the word came to the king that a youth, Theseus, was making his way to Athens, destroying all of the monsters and the highwaymen he met along the road. When King Aegeus heard this, the old man's heart beat faster. Once in his youth he had visited the place, and he had secretly married a princess. He did not bring her back to Athens with him, but before he left, he said to her, "Should you bear me a son, and should he grow strong enough to lift this boulder under which I shall hide my sword and my golden sandals, send him to me, for then he will be the worthy heir of the throne of Athens." King Aegeus in those days was known for his great strength. Theseus, the young hero, arrived in Athens and went straight to the king's palace. Tall and handsome, he stood before Aegeus with the sandals and the sword, and the king was overjoyed. At last he had a son, who was not only a son, but a hero as well, and the king was overjoyed. At last the king happily proclaimed Theseus the rightful heir to the throne of Athens, and he was the hero that all the Athenians, when he offered to take the place of one of the victims that was going to be sent to Crete. Old King Aegeus begged his son not to go, but Theseus would not change his mind. "I shall make an end of that Minotaur, and we shall return safely. We shall sail with black sails, but we will return with white that signals my success." The ship sailed to Crete, and the 14 young Athenians were locked in the dungeon to await their doom. But King Minotaur had a lovely daughter, as fair as a maiden could ever be seen. She could not bear to see the handsome Theseus to be sacrificed to the ugly Minotaur. So she went to the Athenian architect and begged him for help. He created a magic ball of thread and told her that at midnight, when the Minotaur was fast asleep, all she needed to do was to take Theseus to the labyrinth, and the magic ball of thread would roll ahead of him through the maze and lead him directly to the monster. And then it was up to Theseus to overpower the beast. And in the dark of the night, Theseus from his prison whispered out that he would take care of the Minotaur. Gladly Theseus gave his word, and he went to the gate of the labyrinth. He tied one end of the thread to the gate so that he would be able to find his way back, and the ball put on the floor, and it weaved and winded through the corridors, upstairs, downstairs, and around passageways. Holding the winding thread, Theseus followed it wherever it led him, and before long he heard the thunderous snoring of the Minotaur, and there, surrounded by the skulls and bleached bones that lay near the monster, he saw the monster sleeping. Theseus sprung at the Minotaur. It roared so loudly that the whole palace shook, but the monster was taken by surprise, and so strong was Theseus that with his bare hands he killed the cruel Minotaur once and for all. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. Theseus, in his grief, forgot that he was supposed to hoist the white sails as he approached Athens. Therefore, when the king saw the black ship's sails sailing, he threw himself into the sea in despair. And that's why the sea next to Athens is the Aegean Sea, just FYI. And Theseus inherited his throne and he and all the Athenians mourned over the loss of their great king. But in his honor, the sea in which he had drowned was named the Aegean Sea. So there you have the story of the Minotaur. Here's a picture, just so that you can see the Minotaur. See him there, ugly, and there's Aegeus, just about ready to pounce on him. So your job, if you choose to accept it, is to take on the challenge of the Minotaur maze. It is attached to this email, and you will have 1 minute to go from the beginning of the maze and find your way to the Minotaur and back out again without being eaten by the Minotaur or being trapped by any of the booby traps and the spider chambers that you find along the way. Choose to accept it. Be as brave as Aegeus was and take on the challenge. I assure your success in this endeavor.